You look fine, Pete. You look great.
And we're live. Welcome to another episode of the Supplement Engineer Podcast. My name is Robert Chinetsky. Joining me today are the founders, co-owners of PWR Supplements, based out of wonderful New Jersey. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. How are y'all doing?
Very good.
Doing good. Very good, man. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for broadcasting my emotional support.
For any of the listeners tuning on the live stream, you got any comments, questions, queries, quips, or smart-ass remarks, feel free to post them up in the comments section. We'll get to anything and everything after we do all of the formal stuff with the crew here today, talking about all things PWR Supplements, supplement industry related. And guys, first off, thank you for hopping on the podcast. I got to meet Pete and Will up in Jersey at the Apollon seminar, but Bill, I have not had the pleasure of actually meeting you in person yet. So let's start off there. You get to be the first one to give us your background intro and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, so the reason I didn't get to see you that night, it was Dollar Dog Night, and I really wanted a hot dog, man, so I had to go.
You're leaving out a very important part of the story about what Dollar Dog Night entailed.
No one really knows what it was, but it was delicious. So anyway, my background, we got in this because we all had something pertaining to fitness, and we were pretty much making our own pre-workout. So I used to be a personal trainer for like 5 years, and I was really into like the supplement side of things. And actually, Will reached out to all of us. I guess this was close to 4 years ago.
Yeah,
going on 4, and was just like, hey, let's start a supplement company. And we were all like a little skeptical at first, but after meeting up and realizing that we all had great ideas to pour into it, we kind of locked down and got it going.
We just picked him because we needed a redhead.
Yeah, I'm the diversity guy.
We're celebrating diversity. I mean, we've got all the different hair colors on the podcast. That's how we roll here.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, Pete. Now that we've got your emotional support, we were talking about your shirt and whatnot. Let's get your background story, sir.
Yeah, I'll keep it real simple. But as you know from when we first met, we're both engineers, and I was into the physique world for a little bit. So I competed back maybe 5 years ago, and yeah, nothing too new crazy. But we all went to high school together. So,
which organization were you competing in?
That was the international. So it was IFBB, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
NPC, IFBB.
Yeah, it wasn't NPC. It was IFBB back.
Okay.
So all natural AMBF. That's what it was. Yeah, I don't know why, but all natural bodybuilding. So, and that was in Philadelphia. So over near us. Wow, so long ago. I literally feels like last year, but. Once you start thinking about it, it's like the other day, my dad was like, I don't get it. I just replaced the car battery in this vehicle last year. And we looked and it was like 6 years old.
Yeah, the past 2 years have kind of just been a blur. It's like we went through the Thanos snap and we're kind of on the back end of it and trying to figure out what the hell happened over the past couple of years. It's been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And Mr. Will, let's get your background, sir.
That would be me. So I guess it was towards the end of 2017. I had gotten let go from a job. And at that point, I decided that I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. Everything I was going to be doing was either going to be like contracted work, or I was going to be making my own money and wanted to start a business. I had plenty of time, so I had put together the business plan for PWR Supplements. And in the meantime of that, I was also doing a lot of work with like endurance and multi-sports. I was an event timer for a lot of triathlons. I've worked on a couple Ironman sites, and kind of was just in the space. Plus, my family's always been athletic as well too. So, moving into a business plan that was around supplementation and fitness, it just kind of made sense for us. So I had approached 5 people with the. I'm sorry, I was the 5th. I approached 4 people with the business plan and just kind of put it out there and floated it, and everyone bit on it, and now here we are. Couple couple of years later, we did lose one of our partners in the beginning. Him and his brother started a restaurant, and they're doing incredible now. And then our other partner, Lawrence, he just had some other priorities last couple of years. So ended up just kind of parting ways, but we're still very close with him and everything. But
the three of us.
Yeah, we're all that remains right now.
Outstanding. So let's give the listeners a little bit kind of a behind the scenes look. You said when you had the idea, you drew up a business plan. Now that sounds really fancy to like the outsiders. What does all that entail for like the consumers? Like when you were actually starting a company, well, walk them through like the machinations of what all that entails.
Yeah, it's basically just trying to like build the concept of the brand by making the numbers like rational, so that you can get like, here are our costs. Here's what we want to spend on marketing. Here's what the product's supposed to look like. Here's the branding behind it. Here's going to be what we stand for, all of these things. But basically you just build the identity of the brand, like theoretically, and then just kind of move with it from there. We had reached out to a couple manufacturers and gotten quotes on the original formula at Power Rush, so we knew what that cost was going to be, how big of an order size we were going to be making, so that we knew what we needed to start with for capital up front. But even then, we basically just put everything. When I tell you that we've done everything wrong along the way to get here, it's incredible that we're still standing here, like with product in a growing business at this point. It's unbelievable, because we just did like the normal. It's not even like a joke or something we need to hide or anything. Like we started a business on a credit card and called up NutriCap, and like that's how pretty much everyone gets into the space. And thank God we've outgrown that now at this point. But like, it also was a fantastic learning experience, and I'm glad that we endured our business almost closing 4 times. So.
Are y'all still manufacturing with NutriCap? I don't know if y'all want to disclose that or not, if you're working with somebody else, or you want to say any of that.
No, we're working with someone else right now, and we've had conversations with them. It's not that we're like not disclosing it, but we had an issue last year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I think. No, it was just last summer. Yeah, 2020. The facility where we were holding all of our inventory at, with all of our overflow inventory, the HVAC broke there. And essentially what happens is that everything got wiped out. We didn't have it insured, and we basically had to start over from scratch. I think we had like 3 cases left of like product, and that was it for everything that we had. And we had to throw out like a couple hundred. So it was a big hit, literally starting from zero. But it was a lot of people looked at it as our manufacturer had something wrong with it, when it really fell on our shoulders. And we've tried to own up to it as much as possible, because they had already produced it. It was in our control. Like we had, taken, control of the product at that point. But just to make it seem like there wasn't anything bad on the manufacturing end, we've kind of we'd like to try and keep a little bit of a curtain between there. But they probably wouldn't have a problem, but it's just for their safety at this point.
No, that's fine. The reason I ask is that NutriCap/DuraCap, you'll hear different things on it. Like they're great for upstart brands that are because they can do really small product runs. Obviously, they can do really large product runs as well. Then you go into the history of the company, and it's not always rainbows and sunshine. So I'm just trying to get I guess some clarity, or just some anecdotal experience on what your interactions were with them, so the consumers can see, because you're starting to see even like the contract manufacturers throwing out ads for saying, hey, start up a supplement brand for as little as $1,000 or something like that. So from a young upstart company from y'all, how was the interactions with NutriCap?
Up front, it was incredible. The first, like when our business was growing at the first time, we were looking for another manufacturer at the front end. It wasn't even on like a question. We were sticking with them. We had drank the Kool-Aid. We were loving it. And then something happened. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we kind of had to like start relying on them for a little bit more of like some actual, like, it was when we were getting listed on Amazon. And we needed to actually get like some COAs and some things like really moving, and like, hey, we need to like prove that the stuff that we're claiming is in this product is in this product. Right. And then all of a sudden they started pushing back on us, like for no reason. And then we had a product run get delayed like 3 or 4 months. And then when we lost all of our inventory, we went up to them and said we needed to do a rush order. And they told us, yeah, no problem. But we just want to let you guys know that your labels aren't compliant. we're like, this is the same label that you approved a year and a half ago. What the hell is, like, what changed? Was it FDA things, or did it just like flow through the cracks from something? And they didn't really have a good answer. And then on top of it, we were doing 2 different flavor runs at the same time, and they sent back different feedback on both labels. So like they were telling us that the B12 content for one label needed to say this number, but the B12 content for this label needed to say another. But like the daily value percentage were different numbers. Yeah. And we were just like, you guys seem to have your shit together. So we just really like, we're not comfortable with you guys making our product. Like if these details are, you know, are something that like just verifying copy on a label isn't good enough. Like how can we trust you with what's going into the product? So.
And to be clear, like the things that got us hooked were obviously we just assumed in the beginning that the blend was 1-for-1 for what we wanted on the label, but the flavor was outstanding. Everyone still talks about our first flavor of lemon lime that we worked on with them, and it really was like spectacular at the time. People were like, "There's no way, there's no sugar in this, right? It's just insane." Yeah. Unfortunately, everything else we had to, you know, we had to leave, but I mean, in the beginning, the communication was great, and then and it seems like the major problem though, and we've been through like 2 or 3, is just delivery times and just getting promised deadlines met. That's and we don't really rush anyone. So
and it's not even the like the actual delivery times. We know there's delays. We know we're still a small brand, so someone coming up with like a rush order from like one of your bigger clients or something, and it pushes us back a week, we absolutely get that. It's just like I almost wish there was more of like the undersell over deliver policy, where it's like, hey, this is gonna take 10 weeks, and then at 6 weeks it shows up at my doorstep, and I'm like, oh wow, this is incredible. But then there's also still a month buffer in there for things to happen, but like the expectation was set low. So.
Yeah, like don't promise us 4 weeks and then get us 10 weeks, right? Yeah. So and then that's happened more than once. So that's the hardest part, being small.
With the 3 of y'all, how do y'all juggle, I guess, deciding on flavors, the formula of the product? How did y'all sit down and come up with like, hey, this is what we want for our base product? What is the, again, I guess this can probably, I guess, speak to the business plan of when you were sitting down to formulate the company, who is the ideal end user? I mean, is it the bodybuilder? Is it the working professional? Is it the gamer? I mean, how did y'all sit down with the initial business plan, and has it changed much from that initial concept?
Yeah, that business plan got scrapped in like 4 months.
Yeah. And for the flavors, we put a bunch of words in a hat, and then everyone picked one, and then you had the fist fight to see who won.
The fist fight was really just, it was really about the fist fight. Yeah. No, so the original flavor of the lemon limeade, I actually, my dad used to always have me drink this electrolyte drink. Like when I was a kid growing up, he was like a Shackley enthusiast and like wholesaler for that, I guess, or something. But anyways, just the flavor of that to me always was just like, this is what you take when you're using, like when you're doing something active. Anytime I'm grabbing a Gatorade, it's always lemon lime. Like anything, for somehow it's just, that's always resonated for me. So for writing up the business plan, I was just like, this is the flavor we're getting. Otherwise, someone else figured something out. But like, this is what I'm saying. And everyone seemed to be on board for it, and it worked out.
It's pretty neutral too, right? Like, blue raspberry can be pretty polarizing for some people. I mean, it's still pretty like not offensive.
I hate it,
but like, and fruit punch. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I hate it with all my heart.
I hate it. Cannot stand that flavor. I wish it didn't exist. Anyway, that's just
everyone loves lemonade.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of how we came up. I mean, the flavor was just kind of like a cut and dry type thing. Since then, we've had a lot of discussions on like how things work with the ingredients that we have, and like actually tasting the raws to try and build a profile around it. And it's been a lot more scientific since then. We just accidentally hit a home run before.
Kind of, but also think about this. Remember, we were very anti-coloring, right?
Yes.
And what's a very neutral color, like a lemon lime color?
Yeah, which is clear.
Which is clearish. So that's easy to push. If you start sending out cotton candy flavored shit and it's just like yellowish, and you're like, there's something wrong here. So it, like a couple things fell into place, but like by chance, not so much that we're that smart.
Yeah. But the actual. Oh, I'm sorry.
Or go ahead, Will. Go ahead. I'll follow up in a second.
Yeah, it's the second half of your question is basically who did we believe the end user was? And when we started, we had no idea what we were doing. We were basically just yelling nonsense into a crowd and hoping for whatever, whoever was listening to us would just listen. And I mean, we were making ridiculous claims that just like the product wasn't doing it. And not to say it wasn't doing anything for it, but like we kept trying to brand ourselves as being like a hardcore pre-workout, and like our formula is not. We know that it's a very well-rounded energy drink, but like there's significantly harder products out there, high stimulants, more pump ingredients, and like things like that, that like we just weren't meeting that. But in the beginning, we just had so much energy. We didn't really care. Like we just, like sales were growing by us just literally selling the hype of the product. And our end user didn't seem to care that like there wasn't 6 grams of citrulline in it, and it didn't have, some type of like gray area stims or something like that. People just kept taking it because it tasted good and they felt the tingles.
Well, it didn't. Yeah, it worked. It wasn't like it didn't work. Every hardcore guy said that they would recommend it first choice. Remember we had it in Rock Bottom.
Yeah,
and you'd be like, anytime someone come in and want to get started on a pre-workout, your stuff. Any meathead that comes in, I'm not going to tell them to take your 150 milligrams of caffeine and your theanine. They want 300 milligrams of caffeine. So
minimum. Yeah.
This is eventually how we found our voice, and basically came into what we call a performance energy drink, where it's like you take it for things when you're doing active. Like, yes, you can like we use it for, all the way from gaming to a 2 p.m. pickup to like, to a pre-workout, but like it's meant for endurance, circulation, energy focus, which is pretty much what you need to just go out. I mean, realistically, intramural sports is like right up our alley.
Oh my God. I swear, like I see more people drinking like sugar-free Red Bull than I ever remember. And to me, when I look at that stuff, I'm like, first off, it doesn't even taste that good. I think we've just grown accustomed to how like things like Red Bull taste or Monster, but like there's a very real population of people who are, first off, I think most of it's because of sleep, but like lack of sleep, but who need this energy throughout the day to keep going. And I know that we're busier than ever before, but in the beginning, like we never really thought that we were for like the super meatheads. We knew that. But we did have like some pretty big gym people say like, yeah, I love it. But I'm used to X. I'm used to way more stim. But there's so many people who couldn't take any pre-workouts in the beginning. And that's when we started to find calling of, hey, I couldn't take anything, I'll throw up. And your stuff doesn't bother me at all. Yeah. And so then we started transitioning to be like, okay, so it's not only, I still take it as a pre-workout, but when I tell people, I mean, I have friends who are working for Lockheed Martin, Google, Amazon, they are programmers and they take it in the middle of the day. And yeah, the beta alanine makes you get the tingles. So maybe that's like a little bit pre-workout-ish, but it definitely has the utility of like maybe a green tea, but on steroids.
Yeah, the focus, like the calm focus without the jitters and everything. Yeah, I feel like that's really our niche. When you need to focus in, you need to like still be level-headed while you're focused and kind of amped up. I think that's what we really nailed on the head.
Yeah. What I was going to build off of the previous line we were talking about, all three of y'all have a background in fitness, athletics to some capacity or another. We can start with you, Bill. As a personal trainer, what was your experience with supplements and then your one-on-one interactions with your clients and in yourself, and how did that parlay into the growth and development of the formula for power supplements?
So growing up, going back to high school, like before I even started personal training, Will and I would work out together. We'd have the No Explode, like the OG No Explode.
Good stuff.
So I didn't know what was in it. I just knew I felt great when I took it.
I thought it was a test booster. First 2 years I had.
So, yeah, that was just pretty much blindly drinking something just because I liked how it felt. And then over time, I'd do more research. And there was a time where I was just drinking coffee and eating blueberries before my workouts, where I just wanted to keep it bare bones. And
it's a superfruit, man.
A superfruit, yeah, it is. It's great. But with my clients, I had a very diverse set of clients. I'd have elderly people that they've never been in a gym before. They have a bum hip, and we're pretty much just trying to rehab them and get them in somewhat decent shape, to like D1 athletes that want to perform at their peak for the next season. So depending on whatever someone's caffeine background is, that's how I would kind of approach whether our product is good for them or not. And of course, I had a lot of just friends that I didn't train that were in the gym, and I would always give them a free scoop, be like, hey, try this. If you like it, just let me know. I'll get you a jug. And most people gave us a really good feedback. The only downside were the more hardcore people that were like, hey, I need something with more caffeine. That's pretty much the downside that we heard. So that feedback definitely geared us towards where we're at now, the performance energy drink.
Yeah. Pete? But what about your supplementation usage, and how did that, I guess, delve into? Like, were you a guy that came from more of a high stim usage and then you kind of toned it back, or how did that evolve?
No, and actually, so I mean, just kind of building off what he said about people saying they need more caffeine. Like, I don't always believe that throwing more at something or over engineering it, so to speak, like is better, right? So like, there's this like threshold of the bounce of something, so the theanine and the caffeine, more so than just throwing more caffeine at something. But we can talk about that later. But as far as me, I even before competing, I never took a pre-workout or really any energy supplements or drinks. But the occasional maybe Monster when I was in high school. And all I took was like Dimetized ISO 100 like protein, and occasionally some Extend BCAAs, and I haven't bought those in years, but that's all I would take. And my caffeine tolerance was pretty low. I would mess around, like I would do things to myself. I think I'm like a low key, what's it called when you just like hurt yourself because like I do shit. Masochist, right? I'm like, I'm gonna get myself addicted to caffeine and then cut myself off. And then just because I want to feel alive, right? Like, right? Like I'm gonna feel something. Yeah. All right, so
Yikes.
I do things like, all right, is it really that hard to stop caffeine? Or like, if you have that much of a tolerance, will you feel anything with just one cup of coffee a day? And I know that you could probably speak to that better than me, but yeah, so very minimal supplement usage other than the occasional tests to see like how like the addictiveness of caffeine or other supplements would affect me. That's pretty much it.
Will?
Yeah, so again, kind of going back to like how the whole business got started is my dad used to be a wholesaler for Shackley. So we had a whole cabinet just full of like multivitamins, like single ingredients, proteins, electrolytes, everything like that. So that's like, I knew supplementation being more is like what you would go to like when you're sick or anything like that before like going to see a doctor.
Yeah.
And it was like, we got started lifting in like high school, and then, supplementation goes hand in hand when you're starting because, you want to get gains as fast as you possibly can. So you want to maximize everything like that. And then when I was 19, I got introduced to the original formula Jacked. And things just fucking took off from there. Yeah. I mean, once, because Bill and I are also musicians too. And at the time we were in a band. And I mean, a little DMAA will do a lot for you when you're sitting behind a drum set.
Yes.
So, especially when you play death metal and, the whole time you're just doing blast beats, I would be doing double scoops of Jacked and then having like a rock star washing it down just to go out and play like a 45-minute set. Yeah.
Jeez.
I was really good.
And you're still alive.
I was really good. Yeah, and then I mean, it got into like some gray area stuff. I mean, we messed around with like pro hormones and things like that. And then like once
Pete's double take was fantastic. That was awesome.
Yeah, there's a side business they don't know about. They pay taxes on it, but they don't know about it. Yeah. What was it?
Hemastan.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
There was a local supplement shop near us, and the guy was literally just bottling them in the back. And as soon as like the FDA would catch on to like what he was doing, he just changed the label and was like, "You guys don't know about this one." Ran that. I think he's still running that bit, but hey, good for him. But yeah, no, I mean he sold me some stuff, and it works. But
Is your liver all right all these years later?
Yeah. So, anyways, here we are now, and now we carry low sim, very, very safe.
Right. And so like the formula came to be kind of by like I went to college with one of the fourth guys who ended up leaving to go pursue some other stuff, but he was also competing, and so we would mess around with our own blends. Like I never bought a pre-workout, but we would make our own intra and pre, and kind of mess around with that for like years, at least 2 or 3 years during college, and that was kind of where the original formula got based off of. In addition to going through tons of peer-reviewed studies and whatnot that we could find, because one of my best friends is a pharmacist, so I'm definitely using her PubMed subscription.
That's nice. My sister is a pharmacist too, and I make ample use of her licenses that she's got access to for the journals if I can't find it on my own somehow. Before we get to the next question, do you guys want to be famous?
Whoa.
Do y'all want to be famous?
Yes. By willing.
Absolutely.
Right now.
What's going on, JoJo?
Hey,
JoJo is a long-time listener. Cristobal, I haven't seen him
Very
pop
cool.
up on here in a while.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Chris is another long time.
There it is.
How is business, especially after? So, how did y'all? That can bring us to the next talking point. How did y'all navigate the challenges, for whichever way you want to attack it, from 2020 and with the materials shortages and price hikes of 2021 that we're dealing with now?
Oh, well, we sued Gal Gadot and almost went bankrupt.
Yeah, that's probably the best one. I don't think we even got to talk about that when we started.
This is new.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to sue one. We had to sue.
We didn't want
Wonder
to.
Woman.
That's a
last
losing
year.
battle.
Yeah, had to.
So we have a trademark for a product called Protropic, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
but we
we'll
mix
get back
two
to
words
that.
together and boom,
Yes.
trademark.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. And then trademark application for PWR Supplements, because to sell on Amazon, it was coincidental, to sell on Amazon, we needed to get it. And at the same time,
Yeah. So we what is it? You had to have a trademark application in to sell on Amazon. It didn't have to have the full blown trademark, but at least had to have it, like the application process started. So we started the process, and this was after we had already trademarked Protropic. And I was all cocky from it. I'm like, yeah, I'm like a part-time lawyer. I can do this. One of the many hats of owning a business.
rocketlawyer.com.
Yeah. So we're going through the process. It just so happened too that this was incredible timing that my sister was in law school and was in a trademark law class. So she was helping me out with the process. Like every time we got like an office notification back or something, or like what was it? There was one thing where we had to our specimen wasn't correct on it, so that we had to like submit like another picture that was showing the trademark in use, and had to add a disclaimer that we didn't own the word supplements. We only owned the group of words, Power Supplements, PWR. And then after that, we ended up just getting suspended because there were 2 other people in the running for using PWR in a trademark in International Class 5, which encompasses basically pharmaceuticals and dietary supplements. Kind of sat there on it for like a couple months, honestly, because we were just like, all right, well, eventually it'll pass and we'll figure it out. And then my sister comes up to me and goes, hey, I want to remove the suspension from your letter. And my professor said that I can do this as my final project for my trademark class. And we were like, absolutely. This is incredible. Yeah. So all we had to do was file a notice of opposition, which we didn't realize at the time was filing a lawsuit in federal court.
They make it sound so much less.
Like it was a notice when it started. It was a full blown lawsuit 2 minutes later.
Damn.
Yeah, so we did that, and then I got onto a Zoom call with my sister and her professor, and he was kind of just like walking us through like the steps that we had to take. And he goes, "Nate, have you looked into like who you were against at all?" And I was like, the name's Gal Power. Anytime I searched it, just like an Etsy shop showed up for someone that like had like a yoga studio. And I was just like, it's nobody. Like, and they don't have a product out. We've already been in selling for 2 years. And then I Googled the name of the company, which is the Godot Versano Corporation. and find out that it's Gal Gadot and her husband who were trying to trademark the name Gal Power. And we still don't know the exact details of it, but it seems like she was trying to leave Revlon and try and start her own cosmetic skincare line, but also have a dietary supplement line attached to it, because they fought us tooth and nail over having dietary supplements and energy drinks. They just would, like, I mean, they filed a blanket trademark, which meant that they tried to trademark everything that you could possibly sell, everything from like meat and fish to like toilet paper, like they wanted to own the trademark for Gal Power so that no one else could use it. But when we said like, hey, can you just remove International Class 5 and then you guys can keep the rest of the trademark? They were like, absolutely not. And then we ended up in litigation for like 9 months.
Yeah, they said, we'll see you in hell.
Yeah.
And also, you know, it got so bad that we were like, what do we rebrand as, and how will we be able to? Because and legally, like, we had to be the ones suing them.
Yeah.
Even though we're the victims, okay? We're the victims.
Very good.
Yeah.
So is this, what year is this? Is this before she got really big with Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah. This just finished up in May of this year.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
she's already had 2 Wonder Woman movies, a couple of the
Fast and Furious movies, yeah.
Red Notice had already finished filming.
Oh, great movie.
Good movie.
Great movie.
Good
I
movie.
she was great. What do you guys stop?
Regardless, yeah. So what ended up happening is that we had finally settled. Well, really, what happened was my sister's professor, after finding out what was going on, was just like, "Well, I'll come out of retirement to go against Wonder Woman," and took on our case for us. Now, it wasn't cheap by any means. He still like was going through another firm. The firm was billing us, and there's still there's some fees to go for that. It was unbelievably expensive, but we did. So that we're not charged with, what is it, perjury? No, it's not perjury.
Slander.
Slander. Yeah, the term that we have to use is they lost. We can't claim that we won. They lost. And it was because they screwed up filing paperwork after everything was all said and done. We were just going to settle, and then they screwed up some paperwork. So they ruled in our favor, which was nice. But yeah, it was I mean, there was literally a point a couple months ago where we were just like, we only have enough money to either finish this lawsuit or reorder product. Like, we lost our sleep aid, we lost Protropic, we lost a flavor of Power Rush, and we only had 2. We were down to 1 product, and that was it. It was like, what do? We can either re-up on inventory and forfeit the lawsuit, or continue on the lawsuit and then just have absolutely nothing to sell and figure it out from there. And luckily we held out on the lawsuit, and it ended sooner than we thought, and we had enough money to place a small order, and then that's where our Babe Ruth's product came from, or the Babe Ruth's flavor. And then we did a summer launch on that, hoping that the hype of a new product would like reinvigorate some funds a little bit. So
Yeah,
that was.
And lately we've been lucky because sales were slower over the summer, but we've been getting a lot more support ever since.
We also had
the
no
latest
money
shipment.
to advertise for like literally the last 9 months. Like, and we don't even mean like spending like, big ad campaigns on like Facebook and Instagram, but like for us to even go out and do a photo shoot for ourselves to self-promote. I mean, like, we've got to go buy some props. We might have to hire a couple models or something like that, or people to come in, maybe like book a place to go take pictures at or something like that. That all costs money, which is like things that you don't anticipate for it. And it's just like, we had nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. I had to cancel my subscription to Photoshop. We had to.
All right.
I mean, like,
TMI.
it was bad.
And then that's part of the problem is, I remember seeing something that you had talked about maybe weeks ago at this point, but it was someone had asked, do you think so-and-so is overpriced? And, if you look at something and add up the ingredients and the cost of the packaging and how much it costs in raw materials, it might look overpriced. And I really struggle with this personally, because I look at those things as when I design a system, how am I ordering, this many, you're ordering in bulk, and you got to design a system up to like, it's got to cost this much. But what you're not thinking about is marketing and getting the name out there and branding, and that stuff easily costs just as much, if not twice as much, as the product itself. And that's why we wanted to be so competitive, and we still want to, that having an overhead for ad budget in addition to ordering supplies is really difficult balance to maintain.
So thank you, Chris. We don't have an answer.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's going.
now that
That's
feature-
it's going. Nice and easy.
That was
It's going. Yeah. It's growing.
With touch a little bit more on that, because I don't think that is another aspect that we have ever touched upon in the few years that I've been doing the podcast. Is you mentioned something that was brilliant: hiring models, talent, setting up locations, photographers for the shoots. What steps, hurdles, things you have to jump over, jump through, crawl under to get those things kind of set up, or how do y'all at least go about it? If there's not an industry standard way of doing it, what's the approach y'all take to doing it? How do y'all get the ball rolling on that?
It's just a lot of coordination between especially for like when it comes down to like a marketing photo shoot, when we've done it in the past, it's always been like you come up with a storyboard where you find like a couple different ads and poses and like scenario, like in scenes with like lighting and stuff that you like. You basically build a storyboard of it so that you don't just show up on site and you're just like, I don't know, let's just figure it out. It's when you have a much more like direct vision of what's going to happen, it makes the process a lot smoother and it honestly saves you a crap ton of time, especially when you're paying somebody by the hour to be there. When it comes down to venues for shooting, I just harass people. I'm basically the equivalent of a Jack Russell, and I just keep emailing somebody until they get back to me. And then if I can get a meeting with them, then just try to charm the shit out of them and be like, we're so grateful. Thank you so much. But normally, I mean, we are like, thank you so much. There's like still a couple places right now where like, we're 15 minutes outside of Atlantic City. There's so many cool places for us to shoot that just has incredible lighting and those backdrops that you're not going to get anywhere else. And like, there's some art galleries that are opening up, and it's just like, we're trying to get in there just because we think that like just the backdrops that we can use are just so eye-catching that like the whole ad will just pop so that you've got to at least see what it was for. And, but yeah, and then after that, right now we're still using our local network to try and find like talent, like for models and things like that. But like, I mean, there's a lot of, Craigslist is one place you can go. I mean, you got to really vet the people that are going to be coming out, but sometimes you just need them to hold a jug. And I mean, I've heard it on your show multiple times before. Boobs, butts, and biceps are what sell supplements. Unfortunately, we've never gone that, but it's, never really tried to over-sexualize the product, but like, you do have to have someone at least with like an attractive smile and like, eyes that make you want to like at least see what like, is going on, behind there or something to really get someone to stop scrolling for a third of a second. So it's a lot more than just taking out your phone and taking a picture of like, somebody holding the jug to try and use content to run ads for. But at the same time, the filler content of just like, oh, I'm at a basketball court, here's this supplement, to show that you're active is like nice filler just in between. So people like remember the name of the product just while they're shopping and stuff. But yeah, it's a process, and it's a little bit more daunting than a lot of people realize.
Are y'all just direct to consumer right now, or are y'all with doing any of the internet retailers and or local brick and mortar shops?
We're on evitamins.com, and I'm happy that we're back on Amazon, which is direct to consumer, obviously. But that was a whole fiasco that we could talk about in a minute. But otherwise, we're in a couple of local gyms, which Will can talk about because he's been dealing with them one-on-one. And we always had that constant battle of like, do we want to be in more physical brick and mortar locations, or is it easier to have more control over the product ourselves and be direct to consumer and control the pricing and not have to worry about pissing people off if you want to run a sale, and kind of having more flexibility. Plus, since our product is so competitively priced, and you don't have much overhead in there for the ad budget and things, every dollar counts, right? And
correct.
That's like a constant struggle. But
it is 30 servings per container, and it's $35 on the website. So it's a little over $1 a serving, but I mean, it's still way cheaper than an energy drink. And most products these days are not, even nootropics are 20 servings. Some of the Genius brand stuff's 15 servings for a full serving. So it's a good value for what you're getting.
Yeah, and I mean, keep in mind that's also the MSRP on the website. Like we run a lot of specials. There's a buy one get one free going. Anytime someone signs up for our affiliate program, there's 15-20% off coupon for that as well too. Like that's $36 plus shipping is like that's the I showed up and didn't shop around. Like that's the price for that. So anyone listening to this, there's coupon codes floating around. Email us. But I mean, you actually brought up a good point. Like some of the things on there are very misleading now for customers though. Like, I mean, Genius Brand doing like 15 servings, the pre-workouts that are 20, 40 servings, for each one. It gets a little confusing to the customer of how much they're actually paying for something because you assume, I mean, we've been doing, since I've been taking supplements, always 30 servings for everything. And it wasn't until recently when formulas started growing to really start exceeding budgets and really pushing how much is a customer willing to spend for when they started playing around with the serving size on there, unless you're talking about like Russian Bear 5000 where it's like 5 servings, but it's 20 scoops.
Yeah.
And it's just like the price per serving is so tough to find for what you're getting. Like I've seen a couple supplements where they're like, they're boasting that it's got like 8 grams of citrulline for their pump, but then everything else on the label was only for cost efficiency at 40 servings. So like they're picking and choosing which dosage they want to use per serving. And then it's really tough to get on there. And sometimes those label claims are just like, it's really misleading and feels like very dishonest when companies start playing marketing games like that. And that's one of the things that I at least pride ourselves on us is that it's like, it's as cut and dry as we can possibly get it where you know exactly what you're getting with everything that we sell. Even on like, I mean, saying t-shirts, but like, that's stupid. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, we tried to keep Power Rush as long as we could at like $29.99 while it was on sale because it's like, it's $1 a serving, you get 30 servings, it's a month supply, and people just understand that. It's very easy. But yeah, I mean, some of the marketing tactics that have been popping up in the industry lately have been like, at what point is the brand being dishonest, and at what point does the consumer need to be smart enough to know what's going on? And it's like a hard divide on where that's at. Like, I mean, even some stuff with Glaxon, love using their products. Astrolite is literally like one of my everyday supplements that I use on there for it. But like some of their ingredients, like no one knows what's going on in that panel. The average consumer's got no clue. Is it their responsibility to go figure that out, or do you just trust Joey? But at the same time, if you're going to trust Joey with that, why wouldn't you also have the faith in the other company that's in GNC that's microdosing everything? Like, it's so hard to draw that line with the consumer. Like, where do you need to step up? How much knowledge do you need to have to go with that? That's like, again, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is like, our energy formula, it's 6 ingredients. It's very basic. You can understand it. It's all easily Googleable. And, it's got like everything in there people have heard of for the most part.
That's a word?
Yeah.
It was a good word. It rolled right off the tongue.
I've had a couple beers.
But unfortunately, being that honest and almost neutral doesn't do what sells drama. So it's kind of like, it's hard to really like make these crazy claims because we don't want to lie to a single person out there. Hello, the GNC call.
Yeah, and you brought up a few good points, Will. Joey, he's operating on another level that the average consumer doesn't understand, probably will never understand or has the desire to understand. But that's like where supplement nerds like me and you guys, we like to go down. So when we see magnolia bark in an anti-anxiety or a calming agent, we're thinking, what the hell is magnolia bark doing in there? And then you go and find out it's actually got some pretty cool research about that. And so I look at it, it's hard to say. So for me, that's the ingredient nerd that's always looking for something else. You go and you find it and you think that can send you down another rabbit hole, or what other kind of class of compounds is in that particular botanical? Could you maybe find it in some other plants or some other sources out there? The average consumer, I don't think they're swayed one way or the other if the ingredient is microdosed or not, as long as if it's a trusted company. So if they've tried Glaxon's pre-workout, because I think for the vast majority of consumers, I guess at least the ones that listen to this podcast, their gateway into a brand is probably going to be their pre-workout or their pump supplement or something like that. And then after that, it will be to some of the other extraneous products that they offer. So it might be an intra-workout, a hormone support agent, calming agent, nootropic, something like that. So if you can hook them in with the pre-workout, you can pixie dust as much as you want to on the other lines because they're already bought and sold like, hey, their pre-workout kicked ass. I had a great workout. And I think by and large, and that's why we see so many nootropics on the market these days. It's 150 to 200 megs of caffeine, and then you get a smattering of other nootropics, whether they're actually well-dosed or they're really underdosed.
Yeah. And if there's not like a high stim something attached to it, you're not even going to feel it half the time because the average consumer isn't fully aware of what a nootropic's supposed to do and the experience that you're supposed to get from it anyways. So it's,
Agreed.
It's really tough to find that and to have that brand loyalty.
Yeah. Chris, is it time to develop a new line of dry scoop pre-workouts? How do y'all feel about the dry scooping?
Yeah.
Do you like the dry scoop? Have you dry scooped?
Oh yeah, our following loves dry scoop. Apparently, our pre-workout dry scoop is delicious. Everybody likes doing it. Most of our affiliates, that's like what we have. So once someone joins our affiliate group, they get invited into like an Instagram Messenger group, and most of that is just people dry scooping our product and then like coughing up like powders of smoke out of their nose and stuff. Except for we have this one guy who is so clean. I mean, like there's nothing that gets on his shirt. No,
he's a pro.
Yeah. Randy, if you're listening, you've made an impact. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, all of us, like, the supplement nerds, we're always just like, why would you do it? It's these things are better absorbed when you have water in your stomach, and you're missing out on the flavor of everything. There's a lot of science that goes into that too. But like at the same time, if the consumer's happy with it, let them be happy with it. Like, I'm not going to stop you. I mean, for a while we were making shirts that said "Save Water, Dry Scoop," and it was just because a lot of people were dry scooping our products. So like our affiliates had like access to that for a little while, and it was just like, it's just fun. It's the same thing as like, I mean, you're a big bourbon drinker. Like, why would you take a shot of it, of something of $130 like, bottle when you're supposed to sip it? Because
exactly.
We're partying. That's right.
Yeah. If I'm going to have to shoot a whiskey, it's going to be like Jack Daniel's Black Label or Jim Beam White Label or something like that. If it's not going to be a Blanton's or a E.H. Taylor or something like that. I mean, if you did, I almost think like those super ones like shouldn't even be used in something like an old fashioned. But then again, an old fashioned is basically just a little bit of sugar, some bitters, and then the bourbon. It's at the forefront. It's not mixing it with Coke and simple syrup and black raspberry puree and all this other bullshit. But yeah, I completely understand it. You don't. I'm not a fan of dry scooping just for the reasons you mentioned. But if it gets people in the gym or it gets them to do their thing better, it's no skin off my back. So
yeah.
I actually do it myself most days. One if I'm like running late for work, I don't have time to mix everything up. Just take a scoop, I'm ready to go. And two, this is actually pretty beneficial if I'm going to the gym and I just like chugged my pre-workout and I'm still time restricted. The dry scoop, you don't have that sloshy feeling. My stomach's a lot more settled when I don't have all that water.
There you go. That's science.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it's always about the science.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to the point, to the ingredients y'all are using in the pre-workout. So if you had a bunch of betaine in there, you had a bunch of taurine, glycerol and stuff, you're going to want 16 to 20 ounces of water with that. But with, the ingredients y'all are using, it's very straightforward. You're always going to have some water in your system, and 4 to 8 ounces, that's probably going to be more than enough to facilitate the absorption and, prop that. And even if you're drinking water throughout the day, you're going to be sufficiently hydrated, and you're getting the stim anyway. This is what you're after for the most part. So,
and the tingles.
Gotta get them tingles, baby.
Let's turn our attention to you mentioned it a couple of times, Will, Protropic, gut and brain health. That's not something we see a lot of. It's either a gut health product or a nootropic formula, but what most people don't realize is a lot of your brain is affected by what goes on in your stomach, specifically serotonin. So can you give us a little bit, I guess, go into a little bit of the breakdown of why you created the formula, what's going on with it, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure. So it came from basically me just trying to dive into just a lot of gut health products. I got very interested in like probiotics and just kind of how they work. Just after finding out that it's like when you kind of hear like the clickbait of everything from that like, you know, the microbiome is so huge and so vast, and that each one of these strains has like, you know, they break down different things and then we don't really know what's going on. And it's essentially like the wild, wild west right now, trying to figure out like what everything is. And we just really have not a ton of information on it at this point. So I started diving into some research, and I found this one documentary. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I want to say it was called The Gut, Our Second Brain.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And it was like the last 20 minutes of it. There's they have this doctor sit down and she goes through all of her tests. And basically what they were doing is saying that there were certain strains of probiotics that were helping people with stress. And most adaptogens out there are just balancing out cortisol and, you know, essentially are just being stress agents. And, you know, I know we can't use that word on labels as much as we'd like to anymore, but essentially they were seeing some signs and some benefits there. And basically it had finally clicked. And I was just like, wow, there's probably something going on where we can include some probiotics and some gut health ingredients to enhance or define some type of a synergy between some like nootropic ingredients as well too, and some choline sources. So we had ended up testing around a little bit, and we came up with the formula for Protropic, which was, it had its ups and downs on the label. It was, some parts were very well thought out, and some other parts, I'm not even going to lie, our sales rep at NutriCap sold me some ingredients. Like, I mean, we had tyrosine on there for 100 milligrams. Like, I don't know how I let that happen. I don't know how I approved that shit, and it still bothers me to this day. Is one of the biggest, like, one of the things that pisses me off the most. That like it was a totally pixie dusted like dosage where I would have rather just used more like magnesium citrate, magnesium citrate as a filler in the capsules instead of having some low dose ingredient just to say it was on the panel for some reason.
Right.
But anyways, it was very large doses of alpha GPC and CDP choline. There was a good amount of
Huperzine.
Yeah, there was a little huperzine in there too, and
Theanine, just we're big believers in theanine.
Yeah,
so we put it
we
in
love
there
that
too.
And then we were putting in a 10 billion CFU of 2 strains of probiotics, and we specifically chose to only go with 2 strains for it because they were 2 of the most well-researched strains out there. And this is again comes back to like why it's the wild, wild west, and then goes back to our beliefs as a company is that we could have gone with a lot of other different strains. I had seen some research saying that there were other strains that had promising results with everything, but the 2 that we picked were the 2 most well-researched. They were the 2 safest, and you could consume large dosage in, you know, for extended period of times, and it wasn't going to hurt anybody. Versus everything else that had next to no studies that were done on it. And it was all just like hypothetical or theoretical evidence and done like on animals versus everything else that we had, which was pretty much Activia. So like, as long as you've eaten a yogurt and been cool, then like you can take our stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up coming out with the product for it. We realized that we were the first ones to market with a gut and brain health supplement. So we trademarked the name Protropic, which again, that Pete was kind of getting at earlier, still sounds like something that a much larger brand than us should own that name, which we love. But, you know, if anyone wants to license it, you know.
Yeah. Probiotic and nootropic. What a cool
together.
word.
Protropic. But yeah, anyways, we were working on a V2, and it's been a lot of testing, and it's been pretty rough on our digestive systems, but you know, that's what testing gut health products is.
Yeah.
And there is too much fiber. There is.
I was gonna say, do we want to go down the rabbit hole of explaining to listeners what happens when gut health supplement testing goes awry?
I'll tell you what, it's a very plugged up hole to go down.
I guess that's the easiest way. And not only that, maybe some nootropics, like people can react to differently. Like I had dabbled in some nootropic stuff earlier, and part of it sucks because it's like, how do you market nootropics? Like probiotics, pretty easy to talk about with people because a lot of people have gut problems. In fact, I have like personal experience with it with my mom and growing up, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like nootropics are really for like body hackers for the most part. There's like that boundary of like, oh no, I don't want to get into that, right? It's almost like this dark world of magic art. So, but like huperzine, if I took too much of that, and I would test all these different dosages, like too much, it would mess me up. Like I would be like almost borderline sad.
You're always
What dosage were you getting up to where it kind of just sent you off the rails?
Let's see. So this is probably in 2014. I feel like I was taking, it would be 200 micrograms because that's huperzine's like super small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it
in
all depends
micrograms.
because if you,
Yeah. So I think back it was like, and it wasn't even much. I think it was like 2 capsules at the time, and I think it was 100 microgram each. So 2 would like, and so first off, when I got up that high, it would mess me up, and then when I stopped taking it completely, I felt like literally molasses. Like everything was just, I felt so slow. I don't know why. It was crazy. So CDP choline, that actually worked better, but that's like the risk game of that, is it works differently for everyone. But like growing up, my mom had like leaky gut syndrome, and always it was like weird, like we didn't know that it was like a real thing. It was like, oh, that's made up, you're making that up, right?
Yeah.
And she always would complain about having this brain fog. It was wild. Like she had a hard time thinking, and she would get like infections all the time, like yeast infections and stuff. And it was like because of this leaky gut syndrome that for years, hard time diagnosing. So that was when I kind of saw like that correlation of like, are you sure was brain fog real? And like now tons of stuff's coming out about it.
Interesting. Bill, you mentioned a few minutes ago that you, or I guess all 3 of you guys, are big fans of theanine. When did you get first turned on to theanine, and what started the love fest with it?
So when I was first introduced, it was when the company started. Pete and Lawrence, our 4th member back then, when they were in college, he swore by it. He would just take caffeine capsules and theanine capsules, and just those 2 ingredients alone.
there was a third ingredient. What's the third one? He was very big on caffeine, theanine, and nicotine.
Oh, nicotine.
Nicotine can be good. I mean, it's got some nootropic properties. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a full-blown meeting trying to convince us to try and include nicotine in a product. But he was very big on caffeine, theanine, and then slap a nicotine patch on. And he said, I passed my junior year of college because of that.
It works. It does work.
Yeah, it does.
Can't argue it.
Certainly does.
But the addictive nature, even though caffeine is addictive, we don't want to get people literally hooked on our product. We steer away from
Probably not.
But yeah, that's the first time I tried it, and it just took away all the negatives of caffeine, like the jitters, the energy lasts longer. You don't have that crash after, and you can even, I feel like I could think clearer. Like I was more alert from the caffeine, but it really honed in, so I don't have ADHD after I've had too much caffeine. So it was a nice balance. I was really into it when he first introduced it, and we stuck with it and put it in more products. So,
did you get jittery or anxious or just kind of feel overstimulated when you had regular caffeine from like coffee or an energy drink or anything like that?
Not typically. I mean, I went through my phases where I would take high stim pre-workouts. I'd feel like I was on the verge of death after like a HIIT workout, taking, what was the one?
You were on ESP.
ESP.
Yeah.
ESP,
Yep.
I thought I was going to die. I did like a HIIT cardio day, and I thought I was going to die because it was just chemicals that are probably banned by now.
Yeah, I would assume so. I was on the phone with another brand owner today, and he said that they're thinking of, because we were discussing a couple of formulas coming out, and we were thinking about maybe throwing some Rewalfia or alpha-yohimbine into a product, and he said that might be on the chopping block next. Yohimbine in general and alpha yohimbine might be going the way of the dingoes and dinosaurs pretty soon, which is kind of disappointing because I think it's got a certain application. I don't want it every time I take a pre-workout or anything, but every now and then you want those sessions to get a little bit more juiced up. And it's gonna be weird if that goes away.
Yeah, I take it in the morning, like when I'm not working out. I'll take Yohimbine before I go to work, and it helps perk me up when I'm feeling kind of groggy.
Yeah. Do you use the regular one or the alpha ice one?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Do you use the regular yohimbine extract form or the alpha yohimbine?
Just regular yohimbine.
Regular.
What's it? I forget how to pronounce it, but Rolanda or something. It's
Rolfia?
A source. Yeah. So I was taking the combination ones now, and I just take like a basic, cheap, bare bones. It's just yohimbine. Yeah.
Interesting. Listeners tuning in, you got any other questions for the trio from PWR Supplements? Feel free to post them up. What's the forecast for the rest of the year and early 2022, guys?
We are working our asses off to get our sleep aid back up and running now. That was one of our a very good seller for us, and that we unfortunately were not able to replenish inventory because of lawsuits. It's Wonder Woman's fault that it went away. So
it's all her fault.
Yeah, we 100% blame Gal Gadot for all of our problems. But anyways, we're trying to get that back up and running. We're doing that. We're going to be aggressively approaching Amazon this year, which we're very excited about. We also are getting Protropic back up and launching at least one, if not two more flavors of Power Rush. And we've got 2 other formulas that are kind of on the back burner. We just need to see how well everything else picks up. But it should bring us up to, I want to say 10 or 11 SKUs by the end of this year, or by the end of 2022, which if everything goes right, we would be very excited to hit those numbers.
Can you give the listeners a little bit of an insight into what is in the sleep aid? I tried to pull it up on the, never mind. I see the ingredients right here. I can do a screen share. Hold on.
Yeah, and it's one of those blends. There's something in there that I don't know if it'll stand out immediately.
To you, it will.
So yeah,
and Robert, to you, it'll stand out absolutely.
It will. Theanine.
We love it. Oh yes, we do love it.
So good.
The top ingredient is like, we've got a lot of feedback, and so like we have our very basic panel for Power Rush because we want it to be able to be very versatile. But and the sleep aid, we tried venturing out, and it I think it's proven to work in our favor. But because we have some people who swear by the sleep aid, but the vitamin D.
Normally you don't find it in a sleep aid because it's typically associated with maintaining energy levels throughout the day. But normally people are tired with a vitamin D deficiency, and we found some research that actually showed that by getting the vitamin D helped with sleep cycles that kept them up. Like it was almost like it was just like kind of like a clock shift. Where by taking the vitamin D, you'd sleep better so that you would be more energized the next day because you were actually well rested. We also have this one study that we found that was vitamin D and microdosed melatonin. And the 2 of them were taken it was a small study. I think it was only 10 people. But one of the things that was beneficial about it is that they were all healthy. It wasn't people with insomnia or anything like that. And they had all 10 had showed better, improved sleep. And then halfway through the study, they were supposed to up the melatonin dosage. And they said that they didn't need to because everyone had showed signs of improved sleep from just vitamin D and microdosed melatonin. And also the microdosed melatonin. It's not something that you need to wean off of. It's a very, very, it's literally 100th of what most other people are including in there. So it's negligible almost, just enough to kind of kickstart. But then also when you got a 1.5 grams of tryptophan, your body's producing enough melatonin on the back end too to really kind of shut things down at night.
Right. And like the one thing is, so melatonin is like just like huperzine. But for me, too much of it, like 1 gram, would mess me up. I would knock me out, but then I'd wake up at like 3 a.m. and I can't go back to sleep. And I would also have some messed up dreams on it. And then the vitamin D, this is where like it's kind of opposite. It's like people associate vitamin D with like the sun and higher levels of production from going outdoors, and also deficiency with being tired. But I think that they're like, just because you're tired doesn't mean that you're good, like you're sleepy. There's a difference between being like weak and tired and actually like prepared for sleep. So there might be like this misconception that vitamin D from the sun is produced because of to give you energy, as opposed to it's just a byproduct of your body producing it from the sun. And everything that we found with vitamin D has shown improved sleep quality, which is really cool. And I haven't seen anyone else use it. So
yeah, we went through a full product run, or two full product runs of it. And only had one person give us negative feedback. Two people give us negative feedback. The one person slept great, but they had nightmares. But that's on them. That's
a huge problem.
And there was only one other person who took it and said that they could not fall asleep. But we also found out that it was someone who was borderline nocturnal, and like they had sleep issues to start with, and probably needed something significantly stronger than our formula anyway. So, but other than that, we have had nothing but positive feedback on that formula, which is very surprising. The
other interesting inclusion.
You found it.
The other interesting inclusion is milk thistle, which most often is associated with liver health supplements. Do y'all want to touch on why y'all included that in the product?
Yeah, we're right next to a lot of college towns.
Yeah, so the idea to build off of that is this whole formula is to kind of replenish your body. So if you have toxins in your body, we want to do the most so you're feeling your best when you wake up. And even though there's nothing, typically you'll see milk thistle if you're taking a supplement that's going to harm you. You want to take that as well. But we wanted to put it in our supplement to just help your body fully recover as it should be at nighttime.
Right. And so I actually have liver disease, and back in high school.
Here he goes with the pity.
Yeah, okay. But it's an autoimmune liver disease, and at one point I was taking milk thistle. Now, in my situation, milk thistle obviously wasn't going to help. It was my own body's autoimmune reaction to attack my liver. But I was constantly like learning about milk thistle and like, does it really help? And it seems like obviously most often it would help with alcoholism caused liver problems. But I think overall it's good for liver health and just general health. So it kind of fit in the blend.
Okay. Here's an interesting comment from Trainer Red. Usually we see zinc, magnesium, and B6 together for the ZMA stack. So is there any reason for no B6 in there?
Typically ZMA, you have zinc, magnesium, aspartame, and B6. No. We debated back and forth with including that, and it may actually pop up in the next version.
The next version. I mean, it's already in production at this point, but we scrapped the milk thistle and replaced the B6, so that the full ZMA is going to be in it on this one.
Yeah. So it wasn't a plan really by design. I was really big on like ZMA products, but the zinc and magnesium seem to be the most beneficial at nighttime for muscle recovery and to help you relax. So I wouldn't say it was an oversight, but definitely something that we want to throw in there because I think it does have its benefits.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I like the mag citrate form too. I mean, the aspartate's good, but mag citrate, if when I'm putting it in a supplement, it's either going to be the magnesium bisglycinate form, like the Trax form, the citrate form, or for like a nootropic, the L-threonate form. But that one is super, super stupidly expensive.
Well, everything is now anyway, so what's it matter?
yeah, that is very true. Do you want to give any teasers for what other products? You mentioned you might be expanding the lineup to 10 or 11 products next year. Teasers for what might be surfacing in addition to the stuff we've already covered?
There is some things on there that's a little bit misleading, I guess, in how I phrase that, because when we talk about the 11 different SKUs, like Power Rush is 3 SKUs because it's got 3 different flavors. So by having our Sleep Aid come back, which is a capsule, that's 1 SKU. Protropic coming back, which is a capsule, is another one. That already gets us up to 5. If we want to launch 2 more flavors of Power Rush, which we're hoping for, that'll bring us up to 7. And then we have 2 other products that we're playing around with right now that are powders, and they'll probably be coming out in a flavor or 2 each. So I'll be honest with you, they're so preliminary and so far out. I really don't even want to like tease them yet, because at this point, like, it's basically just hypothetical until the capital arises.
Yeah, very true.
So, but yeah, I can tell people that one of the big things that we are working on is getting our original flavor of Power Rush back. The original lemon lime that everyone fell in love with. That is, as soon as our sleep aid is out on the market, that's the first thing we're going back to, is making sure that comes out. We came out with another lemon limeade when we relaunched last November, and it was it's good. We've had like a great response from it. It's very sour and bitter, so it's kind of like almost has like a margarita kind of feel to it.
Without the fun.
Yeah,
Without some of them.
yeah,
It's still pretty fun.
yeah, and so we're just trying to get that back to, because we know that the peach iced tea is an incredible seller. The Bay Breeze, we need to market that a little bit better. I mean, even just being open, completely transparent on that. The name Bay Breeze doesn't tell anybody what it tastes like. We know it just because, we're in a shore town, so we know what a Malibu Bay Breeze is supposed to taste like, and it's cranberry and pineapple. But, the average person doesn't know that cocktail. So we've got to do a little bit better on that. But that one's, especially in the fall, we have a cranberry flavored product. So this should be blowing off the shelves right now. But once we get that with our lemon limeade back, I mean, the 3 flavors on Power Rush, there's going to be, there's no flaws in there at all. Each one of them is just going to taste better each time you take another one. So excited about that. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at.
Outstanding. And wrapping things up, guys, let's get the rundown of daily supplement regimens from each of you. Bill, you want to kick things off?
Sure. So most days I'll take some yohimbine. If I'm waking up early to hit the gym, I'll take a scoop of Power Rush, usually dry. I do like creatine, especially right now. I'm not taking creatine, but I do like it when I'm doing more strength focus or hypertrophy focus. Right now, I'm just getting back in the gym from a lull with stability training, so starting off small.
Makes sense.
Then right now, I'm not doing any type of sleep aid, but I absolutely love ZMA products. Ours was probably my favorite. Cellucore's up there. They have tribulus in there, which doesn't help you sleep. Doesn't boost testosterone, but and protein powder after a workout. That's pretty much it.
There you go. Pete?
Yeah, pretty bare bones. So I had a pretty bad back injury, so I fell off pretty hard. But during that time,
Tell them about
this.
How'd you hurt your back?
Back injury happened at the TNF
No, it's
Christmas
not
Fair
happening at
last
the
year.
TNF.
Far before this.
We need to talk about it.
It was not from eating 2 eggs at breakfast. The joke is, so I mean, I've had back issues in 2015. I blew out 2 discs, my L4, L5, my L5S1, and the doctor, honestly, he was like, "How are you walking? Like, you need a double spinal fusion." And I was like, "No." I've seen the results, and what your definition of success is not my definition of a surgical success. So just because I exist doesn't mean I'm not in pain every day. So I
Amen.
So get that tattooed on my neck.
So I fought it. I didn't get even my discs shaved down or anything. I got through it, and I'm able to maintain it. The secret to me was funny because it's almost probably the reason I hurt myself was deadlifting, but doing like a sumo deadlift and developing a lot of core strength to keep it all together.
Yeah.
That was when I realized how important core strength is to just everyday life, and how so many people would probably not have back issues if that were the case. But I had it under control, and I would have the occasional flare up. While we're down south at the TNS Christmas special, that day, the breakfast stuff, I was like, I'm gonna have Was
He had
it
a
three? It
2
was
egg.
3 eggs.
No,
It was
the
3
rest
eggs.
of us got 3 eggs, and Pete only got the 2
No, I
egg
had one
omelet.
more egg than you.
No,
Yes, I did.
no,
Whatever.
no. Lawrence and I got 3 eggs.
I had whatever it was. I had 4 eggs. Okay. So the joke is, I can't handle 2 eggs because as soon as breakfast is done, I'm like, my back's getting kind of tight, you know. I'm sitting in the car. I'm like, this isn't good. By the time we got to the house, and I walk in the door, I'm on the floor, and I could not. I'm sliding around on the floor. It's getting worse and worse and worse. I'm
It
literally
was a funny sight.
It's not funny, all right?
I'm laughing.
So yeah, they all have videos of me like swimming across the floor, trying to like exist for the weekend, and I missed the party basically and everything.
Yeah, we drove 13 hours to go to this party, and Pete missed the party.
It's disappointing.
And then had to drive
Disappointing.
13 hours back with his back all screwed up and everything. And
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Okay. Great. But as far as my daily regimen, I used to be like 200 grams of protein a day, and then keep it really simple with about 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, and our sleep aid honestly was like, and I don't even have problems sleeping, but like, damn, that shit slaps. It would knock me. It would really like put me to sleep. And I do also personally like, I have a lot of like night terrors. I don't know why. Maybe I have a guilty conscience. I don't know what I did, but essentially I sleep good on it, and I wake up like honestly feeling good. So that's pretty much it. Is in the morning, I don't really drink coffee, so I'll have some Power Rush to kind of get me going. I have my day job, and then I'll take protein after any workouts that I'm able to get, even though I have like 5 jobs right now, and then sleep aid.
Perfect.
Cool.
Whenever
Well,
the sleep aid comes out, I'm gonna get that for Sandy too, because she has night terrors. Like you, Pete. I'm kidding. I shit you not. No less than 3 times, 5 out of the 7 nights a week, she will wake up and go, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" And I go, "Jesus Christ, Sandy, go back to sleep." And she said there's somebody like either like trying to like pull her feet, or there's somebody standing in the corner staring at her or something. So it's whatever I can find to like knock her out and not get her addicted to Phenibut. I'm gonna try that and see what's going on.
I'm not afraid of spiders or snakes, but like for some reason I would always wake up like freaking out in my bed, like spinning around, like where the fuck is it? And there's like, I would assume that there's like a snake in my bed or in the room, like about to fucking kill me.
We're
And
not having this conversation.
we're talking about the snake. I need to talk about the snake. You always talk about it. You never let me talk about it. Oh my god.
Hey, Indiana Jones was afraid of snakes too. It's okay.
I'm not afraid of snakes.
In his defense, I still don't understand how they move. It creeps me out, so I get it.
Right, but I have woken up like significant others in the past, like shaking them, like having a night terror, like trying to save them, pull them out of concrete. It's weird, so it definitely helps with it.
There we go. Okay.
I don't even want to talk about supplements now. I kind of want to hear more about this.
My life is a joke to you?
Yes, completely. Okay, so for my supplement regime, let's see. I normally start off my morning with a whole pot of coffee because I need that much just to get me out of bed. And yes, I do have a coffee pot. If people have heard about this, it's real. I have a coffee pot right next to my bed with an a smart switch on it. So as soon as my alarm clock goes off, the coffee pot goes off. And I do not get out of bed until I've drank the whole thing. No,
what kind of coffee are you doing? Light, medium, or dark roast?
It's normally a medium. I'm partial to things that are Hawaiian. Anytime I can get my hands on like a Kona blend, it's normally pretty difficult to get it on the East Coast because importing it's like $50 a pound at this point. But if I can find something that's good, that's normally where I'm at for it.
Okay. But
yeah, that's a lot of caffeine to get me started, and then typically I'll go to electrolytes mixed with creatine. I seem to have a better response to creatine when I drink it slowly throughout my morning, as opposed to just like one macro dose at the end of like mixed in with a post workout. Yeah. So right now I've been a lot of Astrolyte and 3 or 4 grams of creatine in like a giant like a Yeti that I can get like with like 30 or 40 ounces of water, and I normally drink that until about noon. Let's see. There's normally at least another scoop to a scoop and a half of Power Rush in there before I work out. a little bit of ashwagandha. I'm still milking some Vaso 6 that I've got stockpiled. So that's normally goes into the pre-workout stack as well too. Looking forward to Self-Flow though, whenever that comes out. I'm interested if you're watching. But yeah, there's that. And again, the sleep aids, I have no problem sleeping. I'm one of those people that like, I can literally just turn it on and turn it off like a switch. I'll be asleep in 15 minutes if I need to.
Mhm.
But our sleep aid, when it was around, I was using that heavily. And Protropic, that was a huge one for me when I was around. When we had it. But yeah, well, I left when Protropic left.
Just like Dad, what do you have?
Hello, Dad. Yeah, that was another one big for that was big for me, just with the nootropics, like getting through the day with like work and everything like that, and also just it was a huge creative source with that many nootropics going, so it was nice. But before we segue and do our sign-offs, we have a couple questions for you.
Oh shit! I don't. You see this? This is empty. That I don't know how this is gonna work out.
That's exactly where we need you to be at. If you weren't there, we would encourage you to get to it. So we've been on a kick lately where we've been trying to find the weirdest conspiracy theories that we can find on the internet. Nothing with like recent politics and stuff like that, but like some of like the deep weird ones with like Narubu and like shit like that. And we were wondering, what is the wildest conspiracy theory that you've heard? We'll say the ones that we've found in the last couple of weeks, in hopes that they'll inspire you to think of something in the meantime.
Yeah, I've never gone much down the conspiracy theory hole. I just like there's a couple of them, and most of them are probably the ones people have heard of. But go ahead and say which ones y'all were going to talk to, and I'll let you know which ones I think might have some credence or credibility.
Yeah, so I have two. One is that was the Dark Ages, like the Dark Ages only existed because apparently they tried to wipe out prehistoric technology, and essentially that there was basically an early internet that was basically like a shared consciousness, and as I went down, and it was literally less like it got so dark and everything was so bad that they made the Dark Ages happen. So just completely everyone forgot about it and they could erase it from history. And one of the comments that I saw on that was someone went down, another deeper rabbit hole to say that this checks out because that explains why Egyptians loved cats and like praised dogs so much.
Oh my
because
God.
if you had an internet, you just and you didn't have like a strong source of technology to like really check up on stuff, you're just gonna be like, yeah, we love cats. And I thought that was hilarious. The other one I found was an anti-conspiracy theory where people thought that basically, you've got the moon landing was fake, and then some other people put some things together after doing research on the people who started the fake moon landing conspiracy and found out that a lot of them were pretty racist, and that they said that the moon landing conspiracy was originated because they didn't think that Black women could have were smart enough to put together the math, because there was essentially the physicists that put together all of the calculations to land us on the moon was a team of 3 Black women, and people said they weren't smart enough to do it. This whole thing's fake.
Wow.
Keep in mind,
That's
like
out.
Like that was a wild one that I've been going down lately. And
It's
that's
so
like,
facso. The moon landing.
Yeah, moon landing's real, and they're trying to cover it up because of racism.
Okay. Mine is so it's impossible. I work on cars. I have like a shop, and
Where's your shop at, Pete?
right here.
Wow.
Right here.
Great. Go follow TSD Motorsports on Instagrammers.
Yeah, only thing with BMW, and so it's hard to get rubber gloves, right? And my conspiracy theory is all the rubber gloves are actually gone because people are making grape soda out of them. And now you're starting to say, why is the correlation there? Google making grape soda out of gloves. It's great. In fact, I sent it to them today, and they were like, "I got 20 minutes in."
And it's
I'm making a note of it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty interesting from a chemical
I don't think it's a
Standpoint.
conspiracy. I think like this actually exists.
Yeah.
This is what's
I
happening.
see tons of grape soda. I see no rubber gloves. So that's my main. I just made that up today, but.
And the loudest one I got was the Aurora Borealis.
Mhm.
Is actually just a gigantic weapon that Scandinavia has developed. Now I don't know what it does, but I think it has something to do with mind control. But,
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
So it's not something with the atmosphere. It's a weapon.
It's a Scandinavian chemtrail.
Yeah, pretty much. It's chemtrails.
There you
Filled
go.
with lights. Okay.
You got anything to add?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think mine are that out there. So, Zane and I have watched a good bit of Ancient Aliens, or I like the original few seasons of it, and you get into some of those. Say it again. Yeah.
We're just guy with the
Yeah, Giorgio. Yeah, man, the dude with the hair and everything.
Yeah.
Giorgio, whatever his last name is, the Greek guy. But no, it's like some of those things, like Machu Picchu, and these things are 8,000 years old. If you look at, I mean, it looks laser etched. So how in the hell did humans that may have only had like a hammer and chisel construct these things that were perfectly etched there? I mean, it looks like you couldn't fit anything between it. And then you go to like you mentioned, like the Dark Ages, we couldn't even figure out how to get clean water in the towns at that point. So how do we go from those advanced civilizations to the Dark Ages and then where we are today? Just there's certain things, and I mean, there's certain episodes that are out there, like Ancient Aliens in the Civil War, and like, did they come in and help Abraham Lincoln decide the fate of the North versus the South? And nah, that's a little bit much. But doing some of these ancient temples or other structures and stuff like that, I think there could be something to that. The JFK assassination, I'm pretty sure that was the New Orleans mob and the CIA going at it and taking him out. Because if you go down enough of the mafia history of stuff like that, you start to see the connections between Carlos Marcello, some of the CIA guys, and all of the other stuff that fell out from the Cuban Missile Crisis and whatnot.
I believe that.
That's
I believe
interesting.
whenever I think of aliens, I just think like aliens when they're flying by. Like, they're probably like, oh, we don't want to go there.
Yeah, especially these days. They said, no, like a couple thousand years ago, maybe. And these days, they just said, fuck. They pieced out a long time ago.
Definitely the shithole.
I think it's that ancient, the early or the prehistoric internet, man. You could just download a pyramid off of like a pre-Napster.
Download a
thing.
pyramid, huh?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you wouldn't download a car.
Download a pyramid.
Yeah, dude.
You just said Napster. God, I haven't heard that word in a long time.
You ever wonder whatever happened to all the people who got into lawsuits and like got charged for like millions of dollars for downloading songs? Whatever happened? I don't know.
aliens.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's Ulrich. That's what happened.
Yeah.
What was the other one? It was Napster, then LimeWire, and then something else.
Frostwire. And then there was one in between. It was shit.
I don't know. I found a lot of Linkin Park songs on LimeWire.
Yeah, that was a great.
Oh, Kazaa.
Kazaa, yeah.
Ah, yes, I do remember that.
Where my dad
Awesome.
had what's that? Piracy.
Any other questions y'all got, guys, or stuff that we didn't touch on during the podcast that y'all would like to address?
No, it was pretty thorough.
Thorough?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you guys know about my night terrors, so I think we're good.
And you're
There you go.
right.
That's your back issues, your liver disease. Do you have like degenerative brain health or anything else that you wanna come clean about, Pete? You know?
Look at the guy. He's sad all the
I'm
time.
not sad.
Sad.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you all so much for joining the show. This was great. It was great to meet Pete and Will, you guys at the Apollon thing. Bill, hopefully we can meet in person soon and we can share a beer or bourbon or something like that.
Definitely.
And this is where you can shamelessly plug anything and everything you guys want to, including your motor shop, Pete.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll plug most importantly the Sleep Aid and the Protropic. I obviously the energy drink speaks for itself, but those two, I think are really special, and we need to figure out how to out advertise. That's the hardest part for me. I hate advertising, even the shop. We don't even have signs on the building. We don't have it's all word of mouth because I want to just have a good product that speaks for itself. But unfortunately, in this day and age, you get drowned out in the
Pete,
voice.
this is supposed to be that time where you sell that thing.
With the shot? Oh, the shot.
No, not telling people why it's hard to sell things. Sell the thing.
It's really hard to sell.
ABCs is selling. Always be selling with a C.
Oh my
So-
God.
I think Pete's on the right track though. Power Down, we're hopefully going to be having it. If everything goes right, either end of February, early March is when our sleep aid Power Down will be back. Protropic will be hopefully early to mid-summer. That'll be out for then. Other than that, we're running a BOGO sale on our website. Buy one, get one 50% off. So you can try a couple different flavors of Power Rush. They're all delicious. Doesn't matter what your taste buds are. We've got something to cover every aspect of the palate for you. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much what we've got going on right now. We've got the BOGO 50 running now. That's probably going to be honestly running until like the end of the year. There are some other Black Friday sales that we've got coming up, so be ready for those. Also, please be, for the love of God, please be patient with us with shipping. It's out of our hands. We're trying to like literally upcharge everything to get like things that used to go like first class are all going priority, so that we're hoping and praying that it gets there. Like we're literally spending every dollar we can spare on shipping and not charging anyone for it to make sure that you get things in a timely manner. So if there is any problems with it, please reach out to me or just anyone on the crew. But normally it's me that answers it. So yeah, and we'll figure out another way. If I got to send you more product and then just claim the other one as a loss, just this, we have no idea what the hell is going to happen this this holiday season, and we're expecting it to be really, really bad. So order early and be patient. It's really, and not even just with us, just like with everything that you're getting online.
Yeah,
With life,
and follow us on Instagram at PWR Supplements.
Oh yeah, it's good. Twitter too.
Don't
Yeah,
follow
all the I'll put links to the website and all of the Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff as well from the website.
Cool.
So, Bill, do you
Awesome,
have
John.
anything
No, just buy our supplements.
yeah, we've got a lawsuit still paying off. So please.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll do this again, and hopefully we can see each other soon in person and share a few cold ones together.
Yeah, that'd be
Good.
great.
Always
man.
down.
All right. Have a good night.